Hello everyone, hello my little dyslexia community. Norda is here and welcome a new episode of Real Talk with Norda. Today my dear guest is Claude. He's 49 years old, born in Congo, Africa, and moved in USA at the age of 8. He found out about his dyslexia last year at the age of 48. And his mom and his older brother have always supported him, even before he knew about his dyslexia. He's self-employed as a partner providing antitrust settlement recovery solutions to Fortune 500 and medium-sized companies. His hobbies, writing blogs, working out, traveling solo, reading, cooking, creating online content, and playing guitar and piano at home, and so many others. His plans for the future, he wants to create awareness about dyslexia and try to reach non-dyslexic adults who may not even know they are dyslexic but suffer from consequences. Hi Claude, how are you?
Good. I think it's good evening for you. I'm doing super good. I appreciate it. It's good to be here. Thanks.
Are you ready for my questions and for Real Talk with Norda?
Absolutely. Okay. Looking forward to it.
Okay, first thing I want to ask you, dyslexia in your school time, like what kind of difficulties did you had with your dyslexia?
So, as you mentioned, I didn't find out about the dyslexia until recently. So, the beginning school time, when I moved to the States, I couldn't tell whether I had a learning difficulty or whether I was just trying to learn English. Yeah. So, between, 8 and 11, I was just too busy, being entrenched in the new world, learning English. And it didn't really start to hit me probably until 11 or 12 that, oh, you know what, there's something weird here. I'm having a hard time learning.
Yes.
And, I struggled, but I kept it moving. I, luckily had support from my mom and my brother.
Yes.
But, school was hard. I got pretty bad grades and, but I got through it because of art.
Oh, great. And did you ever heard, like, before you was find out that you're dyslexic, like before that, did you ever heard for dyslexia? Before you was diagnosed and you realized that you have? Never?
No, and that's the funniest thing about it is, I'd heard the word, but I always thought it was what people typically think about it. You can't spell, you can't write, and I had no idea that there was this whole huge ecosystem of other stuff that affected you. So, because my writing and my spelling were pretty decent, I think it went undetected for a very long time. But I wasn't aware of it.
Yes. And of emotions did you feel when it comes to reading? Like when you were a kid, how did you feel when you need to read something? Or today, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, that's been the most emotional part about it, right? Because for so many years, I didn't know that I had this thing. Yet I had a hard time with so many parts of being in school. So, reading was super slow, but I was able to do it. Even till this day, highlighters are my best friend, and I take a lot of notes. But the emotional part of it, the anxiety, panic attacks, always being stretched out. Going to the blackboard, I hear this all the time, but back when you're in school, you go to the blackboard and you're sitting there, you're like, it's even just thinking about it is like visceral, right? Because you're on an island all alone up there. And but yes, so the reading, the emotional parts of it, I still have my roller coasters, but understanding after all these years what I'm good at, what I'm not good at. I'm able to focus in the areas that I am good at. And, you know, for the most part, it works out.
Yes, and how did you stay motivated, like with all struggles and everything? Because it's not easy when you struggle with reading. So how do you stay motivated? Could you share that with us?
Yeah, I think I had, you know, people in my corner from a very young age. And I know that a lot of folks that don't have that support are ones that have a harder time in adulthood. You know, not saying that my adulthood's been easy, but, you know, having that emotional support at home, I think was paramount. And I've always just kind of had this thing for just to, you know, either remember my family or prove to myself in many instances that I could do something. And I've taken on, you know, a lot of different challenges because I would rather, you know, fall on my face and fail, which has happened quite a few times, more times than I care to share. But I would rather do that than just, you know, sit and think about it. So, you know, the motivation I think is internal, trying to get beyond myself and do something that I can't quite grasp just yet. But I know that I can't get to that other side if I don't, you know, put the effort in.
Yes, it's true. When it comes to mental health, you need really put effort to change your attitude, to change your mindset about everything in your life, and it's same with dyslexia. And I want to ask you, like dyslexia and social life. What do you think? Why such a negative perception around dyslexia? Around the world, we can say, because dyslexia, people just know that negative part from dyslexia, but why do you think, why such a negative perception?
Yeah, I mean, you know, everybody's got their head down and everybody's, you know, kind of focused on their, their little world. And, you know, myself being the example of not understanding the full breadth of dyslexia. So I think it just goes back to the awareness and, you know, you doing the things that you're doing right now and spreading the word. People just don't know. And, you know, we need to be more educated and we need to help educate other people, you know, because with that education comes understanding, and through that understanding comes acceptance, which allows the dyslexic community as a whole to have more opportunities, to not be overlooked for, for work opportunities, promotions, and things of that nature. So it's just, you know, we need to shine more beacons, put up more signs, make more noise, do more social media, do more of this.
We need to talk. We need to talk about that and help other dyslexic to start to talk about that. And that is really important. And of course, as you said, we need to educate others about dyslexia and how dyslexia influences our life. And could you tell me what kind of influence dyslexia has on your job? How do you deal with your dyslexia in your job?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I've been doing what I do for about a decade, and you know, sometimes there's a lot of legal documents. Sometimes there's a lot of reading. I work with you know, big attorneys in Fortune 500 companies and the like. But I've come up with a bunch of different strategies, and you know, a lot of them have to do with just being patient. And I'm lucky in the sense that I get to work from home and have been doing that for, I want to say like 7-8 years. So, you know, when I'm proposed with a challenge, I can actually take my time. I can get into it. I can step back. You know, I'm not sitting there on the clock with somebody looking over my shoulder. And which is the advantage of being self-employed. But as far as like the work strategies go, it's, taking things slowly. When I have important documents, I do like a kind of like a contextual hack. Basically, I'll go through a huge document with a highlighter, pick out like the drivers of the document, because my comprehension and processing is still a little spotty. So I'll do a first pass quickly, highlight, excuse me, take notes, and then go back and read again. And I've got a network of people that I know and trust, and that I've helped out in the past that are outside of work. So sometimes when there is a problem that I can't quite figure out and I'm not comfortable bringing it up, with my partners, I'll ask a friend.
Yes.
Just that simple.
Yes. Yeah. Great. And in your job, like your co-workers, because you work with other companies and so on, do you ever say that you have dyslexia, and like how they react, and do they help you with that?
I haven't bridged that gap. Having it be so new to me. It's it's taken a few months to kind of dig in and understand it for myself. And I'm not opposed to them knowing, but having worked with them for so long, they understand my MO as far as how I work, what I bring to the table. And the great thing about being self-employed and working with 4 partners is that everybody helps each other out.
Yes.
Because collectively, the more we help each other out, the better we can be as a team collectively. So I'll bridge that gap eventually, but right now it's not that big a deal.
Okay. Could you share some strategies in your life which helps you, like with your dyslexia? You said to us your strategies on your job, but could you share with us your strategies in your life with dyslexia? Do you have some organization tips or some things that for you are really important to deal with dyslexia?
Yeah, and all this ingenuity I came up with just because I was struggling in so many different areas throughout my life. So not knowing that it was dyslexia, but I did implement a bunch of tricks and hacks. And one of them is like just staying organized, man. I got my work calendar, I've got a Google calendar, I've got paper calendars on my wall. I send emails to myself from my work system throughout the day. I've got I got probably a good 10 to 15 alerts that go off on my phone every day with with a different name and a different ringtone. So I started recognizing it. So it's just putting in all these things, these fail safes that allow you to remember what you have to do. And as far as like the other strategies goes, it's really just taking my time. Because a lot of times what I realized with dyslexia and like the anxiety and not being confident in your ability to do a specific task is that like you're so focused on trying to get that task right, even if it's just reading the document, that the anxiety that comes from trying to do the thing that you're trying to do but not figuring out just makes you backslide that much more. So when you get to those instances, you just got to take a step back, and because it's mind bending and it's frustrating to the nth degree. So those are kind of the things I use to get through the day.
Thank you so much for really good advices to our audience, because you when it comes to organization or planning, you need to be really creative and think like what I need to do to be better in organization. So thank you. And could you
Sure.
tell me how do you deal with your dyslexia today? Like you find out about your dyslexia like year ago, and how, like first time when you find out that you are dyslexic, how did you feel about that, and how do you feel now about that?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think me and my dyslexia, we get along, it's still kind of a learning process. And when it came about, you know, I went back all these years to figure out, okay, was this dyslexia? Was me not knowing English? Or, at what stages did dyslexia come up throughout my life? And without even knowing it, I put in all these, I guess, hacks, insights, or systems to help me get through my days. And, for a long time, I didn't have the confidence to do what I do now. In fact, it was just the opposite. So, thankfully, I had an opportunity that changed my life as far as having somebody believe in me for the first time on a professional level. And that's when things started to get better. But prior to that, things were pretty shady. But to answer your question, which was, how do I feel about it today? It's good. It's good. This community helps. I didn't know that all these folks existed up until about a year ago. And, I still have a lot of, from time to time, have like the emotional stuff when I'm not able to figure something out. But I've been able to at least adopt and implement some tools and some mental hacks to help me get through it, so that if I do get down, it's temporary and it's quick.
Yes, great. It's really great. I love when I'm interviewing, I love to hear when someone said, oh, I'm today good with my dyslexia. I'm like, I have that positive attitude about dyslexia. That is really beautiful to hear. And could you share with us your dyslexia strengths and weaknesses? Like, could you share some your strengths and weaknesses? And yes.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, I mean, I think the strengths are, always been creative and, wanted to, spend a lot of time writing as a kid and, writing on a blog here in my adult life, making the pottery, spent a lot of time drawing, being able to, connect like an image that I see in my head and then being able to recreate that as a piece of pottery, which was a big one. As far as the weaknesses, well, that's easy. That's going to be like, long sequences, working memory, reading aloud, and then
reading aloud.
reading comprehension.
Yes.
And then, I said working memory, reading comprehension, and then processing, processing information. And, as I mentioned, luckily now I'm self-employed, so I kind of get to set my own pace.
Yes.
But, all those years that I didn't have a plan and didn't know what the hell I was doing, I went through a lot of different jobs, and those first 2-3 weeks, 4 weeks were insane, right? Because I got flooded with all this information about how to do the new job, learn the system, learn the lingo, learn the processes. And those were just insanely horrible times. And those were times that really exacerbated my weaknesses.
Yes.
But so it's important that we put ourselves in situations where we're able to shine. And it's not always going to be perfect, but you want to lean towards what you're good at. It's going to save you, and it's going to save you a lot of heartache and be better for your mental health.
Yes, I totally agree with you. Like, really beautiful message. And could you share with us, like, do you have some dyslexic role models or some role models that they inspire you to like keep going and like never give up and those things. Could you share with us?
Yeah. No, I mean, I always, when I first, started digging into this, I called them the dyscelebrities, dyslexic celebrities, like your, Branson, Danson, Goldberg, Bloom, Aniston, all those dudes and ladies, inspiring because of where they are now understanding what they had to have gone through to get there. But I think, my top guy is probably this dude named Dean Graziosi. And he was actually part of the reason why I figured out I had dyslexia, because I usually don't do audiobooks, but I was listening to an audiobook. I like real books because I can highlight, remember, what I need to. But listening to an audiobook of his, and he kept talking about like dyslexia has, prevented him from doing that. He wasn't good at this, that, and the other. And he mentioned it so many times that I was like, what the hell is this dude talking about? And that was the impetus for me doing all the research and figuring out that, wow, I fit the criteria for dyslexia. And it was crazy. But that dude's name is Dean Graziosi. He's a real estate entrepreneur, a marketer, works on mindset and how to help people get from here to there.
Yes, great. And my last question for you, could you share with us your message for our community? Like what are your thoughts about dyslexia? Like your message for end.
Doing things like this, as I mentioned, but also support and community. Figuring out places where you can be yourself and not just, talk about your dyslexia, what you're good at, what you're not good at, but places where you can actually work on solutions, on projects, things that you want to get better at. If you want to switch a job, if you want to start a company, if you want to pursue a different hobby, get in spaces where other people can essentially help you crowdsource solutions, right? Because, social media is amazing. It's awesome. Great posting, inspiration, awesome people, laughs, videos in the works. But in order for us to help each other move our lives forward, we actually have to start digging into the things that scare us, that worry us, but how do we actually help people get from where they are right now to where they need to be? And I think that's really the key, lock arms with, people in the community. And for those who are out there who might be on the sidelines and don't want to speak up, I would just urge you to contact any of the amazing people in this community, from Norda to myself to, other educators, coaches, teachers, influencers. Send them a note, because we go through this alone and we don't have to.
We can help each other.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be public. Nobody's got to know, but the more we're able to lock arms and help each other out, the better we can be exponentially.
Yes, and thank you so much for this beautiful interview, for sharing your story with our community, and for this beautiful message at the end. And dear Claude, I wish you all the best, lots of success, and I hope that your plans will come true. And to my little dyslexia community, thank you for watching, and don't forget to stay positive and keep going. Till next time.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, and I appreciate y'all watching. All right, guys.
Bye.